you don't think about that if you don't do that for a living. If you're not looking at Architectural Digest every single day like I am, you wouldn't. Why would you think to not? You're like, I want to maximize my space.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. And my response to that is always like, for what? What? Like, why do you want
are you gonna do P90X?
a gymnasium? Yeah. Why do you want empty space for activities? Like, it's not doing what you think it's doing. Like, more empty space doesn't make the space feel bigger.
Janelle, welcome to From Vision to Creation. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, no, seriously, like I've been so excited to talk to you because I love you and I love what you do. I think you are insanely talented.
Thank you.
And it's also exciting to talk to somebody who is starting a new business, you know, in their 20s. I was just there too. I mean, my business is still new, so talking to a new founder is super fun.
Yeah, I know. This is my first interview.
Oh my gosh. Well, you're already killing it.
Thank you.
Okay, Janelle, I want to talk about how you started your business. And I know a little bit about it. I know you were working at a design studio, but actually, let's go back even further.
Okay.
When did you realize that you had an eye for beauty and that you could put things together in a way that is cohesive and beautiful?
That's such a good question. And I feel like I am trying to answer that question all the time because I made such a hard pivot from film to interior design. And it doesn't really feel like those two go hand in hand. So I am always asking myself that question of like, why this? I just always say that I've always loved creating beautiful things like that. Like, putting together Pinterest boards when I was 10, you know, like everything, I was always like curating something pretty. Like that always was a thing for me. I don't know why. And I'm sure a lot of people could say that, but I don't know. That was like a very prominent part of like my childhood even. I would get really upset when things didn't look the way I wanted them to look.
Oh my God, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, like the tantrums in the morning of my mom doing my hair and it was like not laying the right way. And I was like, I can't go to school today.
You don't get me, Mom.
Yeah, no, it's like the hair was supposed to go like this, not like this.
Yeah, exactly. How am I supposed to walk out? Like without my vision coming to play?
I'm chopped now, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, like, I think you're right. I think a lot of people can say like, you know, that they've had experience like putting together vision boards, things like that.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I'm obsessed with like all things aesthetic and making it look good. Although I will say I'm not good at doing it at all. Like I can put together a bomb Pinterest board. Like if you need a vibe, I can put it together. I've got you. But when it comes to actually like placing objects in a space or creating something, like I feel like I'm creative in certain ways, but certainly not in making something that looks good.
Yes.
Like a drawing or putting together a room.
I get that. Yeah. I was actually just talking about this with one of my clients. We were talking about the no makeup look and how it actually involves a lot of makeup. Same thing goes for like styling a house. Like she was like, I just want my house to feel really effortless and curated and all the above. And I was like, I know. And that's the goal that I'm always going for. And it actually takes so much effort. And it's not just like, oh, like this came together through me living my life authentically and I just been gathering these items. It's like, no, a lot of the time it's like very specific, curated, like purposeful purchases. And I set this here next to this item for a certain reason. And, you know, so it's all, it takes a lot more effort and thought than what comes across in the final product.
When it's true, like when you're talking about like the no makeup look takes a lot of makeup.
Yeah.
It's like the saying, takes a lot of money to look this cheap. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. When was the first time though that like you, before you even started in your career, that like you put something together and you were like, oh my God, I'm actually really good at this?
So my grandma on my mom's side was like very, very crafty. Like she was a cake baker for a long time and she would like make these outrageous cakes just like in her kitchen with like the fondant and all these like special designs on them and everything. And it was just like my mom and her. So my mom picked up on all those things. And I just remember when we would have like school projects or something, my mom was so resourceful and creative. Like I remember specifically, we were making my 4th grade mission project. And you know how like those Spanish tiles on the roofs of like most missions are like the curved terracotta type, like layered.
Yes.
My mom decided to cut up straws and like use that half arch to make the tiles. And then we painted them in like a terracotta color.
Wow.
And they looked, and I was like, who thinks of that? Like, how did you think to like, because we didn't know how we were going to get that shape and like that design, that look on a miniature little model of a mission. But then she pulled that out and I was like, my mission looked the best out of the whole class. I was like, this woman like really thought about that. Like, that's crazy. So I think I definitely picked up on some of those things. Like if I want it to look a certain way, I will absolutely find a way to do it. Like, I don't take no for an answer, and I am not done until it looks exactly the way that I want it to. Doesn't matter what I have to use, what I have to pull out of my ass. Like, it will look the way that I want it to.
And I think that's like a really great trait to have, especially in your field.
Yeah.
But you didn't go to school for this.
No.
What did you go to school for?
Film. It started in high school because my high school had a TV production program, and I was just naturally drawn to that. I don't know why. I thought it was like the coolest out of the creativity, the creative, what are those called? Electives. So by the end of high school, I was like one of the head people of that creative department. And so I always just felt like, okay, well, I'm good at this, so let's do this for a living. Like, why not? It was kind of the only thing that had really stood out to me prior to college. I went to UCSB for film, and it was a more like theoretical type department at UCSB. It wasn't like hands-on, you're doing stuff. Mm-hmm. So then once I got into the real world of film and learned what it actually was like, I hated it. Hated being on set, hated the hours, hated almost everything about it. It felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel because I didn't have a specific vision of what I wanted to do in TV. Like, the people I was surrounded with were like, I want to be a writer, I want to be a director. Like, they had a very clear goal. And I was just like, I like TV. So it was like, it's not worth the 14-hour days if you don't know what's going to come out of it at the end type thing. So that lasted like 6 months, honestly. And then I just was like on the job hunt. I kind of slowly left that and was just applying to every single interior design job that I could find. It was, a lot of them required experience or like some sort of degree. So I actually got in by applying to be an interior designer's personal assistant. So it didn't require experience or anything because I was supposed to be doing just administrative stuff for her. But obviously that like slowly led to me doing client work and everything and what I actually wanted to do.
But you know what? To all of you young people listening, this is a really good point because oftentimes you think, I'm going to graduate, I'm going to be just launched into my dream career doing exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it's not the case most of the time.
Yes.
In fact, my experience and a lot of people that I know, and it sounds like yours is kind of the same, is that first, you kind of learn what you don't want to do.
Yes, 100%.
So you start working at an interior design firm as an assistant to an interior designer.
Yes.
Where I know you worked on huge projects. We won't say names, but CEOs of multi-billion-dollar tech companies.
Yeah.
You probably have it downloaded on your phone. What was it like getting to work on such huge projects like that? Right when you're starting this career.
I know. That was unbelievable. It was literally my second day working for this firm. And my boss was like, we need to go visit. I need to go check on something at so-and-so's project. And I was like, okay. And she sends me the address. I'm pulling up in Beverly Hills and I'm like, no way. I'm like, this is not your project. Because the day prior, she had taken me to one of our other projects that was in the Valley and like much more low key. So I was like, okay, like this is like what I was expecting, kind of like obviously still a really nice home, but like, just usual. And then we pull up to this house and I was like, no way. Like, you're fucking with me.
How big was that house?
They bought 2 plots of land and put them together.
And the house is enormous.
Enormous.
Like 30,000 square feet.
I honestly don't even know.
Well, and see, the reason why I'm like asking how large the house was because I feel like I have a hard time decorating like a small space.
Yeah.
A house that's like 30,000 square feet plus. Like do you feel like it's intimidating when it's that size, or is it just like more of the same in your opinion?
Honestly, a lot of the square footage was like open space.
Well, I guess it has to be.
Yeah. Like I'm envisioning it and it's like a lot of grand entryways, a lot of hallways taking you to something, big down on its own. A lot of bedrooms. There was like 6. And then there was like a gym, an indoor pool, things like that are obviously contributing to the square footage, but it's not like livable space that you're using all the time, if that makes sense. So therefore, it doesn't have to be furnished like a usable space. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the gym is already, like we weren't doing that.
Yeah.
And the pool.
And can you talk about like and actually, so basically one of your first projects was a hotel, a boutique hotel.
Literally.
But can you talk to us about some of like the design choices that you made in that project, and maybe like about maybe having an expectation of how something was going to turn out that didn't exactly match what you thought, but it worked out anyway.
Yeah. So for that project, I will be honest, I was in charge of the furniture plans. So a lot of my job on that project was literally putting things into the plans to scale and making sure that they fit, making sure that the client wanted it in that corner, and what that would look like with the other furniture that we were planning. A lot of it was like logistical stuff for me because there were so many cooks in the kitchen that there wasn't really an opportunity for me to make like a design choice in that one, because it was so much. Like it was such a big, important project, and everyone was so anxious about it and wanted full control over their sector of it, that there were, like, any given day, there were 30 people at the house doing something, whether that was painting, cleaning, fixing the tile. Like there was always so many people there. So all that's to say that like there were just too many cooks in the kitchen, and I was given my job, and that is all I did, because I was the only one at the design firm that could do plans. So I was in charge of like absolutely everything. Like every time they needed a chair moved 5 inches to the right, like that was me. So I was never like choosing their curtains or something.
So you were the only one who could do plans at your firm.
Yeah.
Why is that? Like, do you need a certification?
You don't need a certification. Like you can absolutely teach yourself, but they did pay for me to go back to school. So
okay.
Yeah, my firm was like 4 employees, just very boutique. And my boss had learned CAD and all those plans before, all that software before, but she had like forgotten it or something, or like didn't want to do it anymore. So when I came in to that firm, no one was doing plans. They were outsourcing to a third party that could do CAD and things. So every time they wanted to change something, they had to like reach out via email to this like plan company, which just felt like so inefficient. So I knew that I wanted to learn that. As soon as I came in and was learning about how valuable that skill is, I knew that is what I wanted to learn, because I knew it was like the most invaluable thing that I could bring to the table in that firm.
And see, this is another really important thing to hear, because when you get to work for a small business, there really is a lot of opportunity there, because you learn a little bit about everything.
Yes.
Whereas, and that's, you know what, comparing it to the huge project you were on, that's actually a good comparison. When there are too many cooks in the kitchen, everybody's given a very specific task.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
You just stick to that. But when you're a part of a small team, and I'm sure in other projects, when there weren't that many people, you had to get scrappy and do a little bit of everything.
100%. There was one project where I literally did it by myself, because it was close to, like, I was living in the valley and it was in the valley, and my boss didn't live there, and so no one wanted to go to it. So I was like, there were months where I was the only person that would go to that project, and I had to handle everything by myself. So yeah, I got a taste of absolutely everything. I wasn't like I was just doing plans. It was just like kind of depended on the project and what my boss didn't want to do.
No, and it's like it was the exact same thing for me. Like when I graduated from college, I did a few roles that I learned I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
But I worked for startups, and I got to do a little bit of everything. And had I not done that, I would not have been ready to start my business when I did.
Right.
And so now actually, I want to get into that now. So you're at this firm, you're learning a ton because you're a part of a small team. So you're doing a little bit of everything, really.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize, hey, you know what? I actually want to branch out and do my own thing? Because I know that when a lot of people are considering starting their business, there's a lot of fear around that. So I feel like there has to be a specific moment or a mindset, a realization where you're like, okay, no, I need to do this.
Yeah.
What was yours?
So it honestly came out of necessity because we had just moved into this place, and 10 days later, I got fired.
Oh, really?
10 days. Like just moved in here, and 10 days later I got fired. So I had just
timing.
Amazing. I had just committed to this new financial commitment, you know what I mean? Like we lived at our parents' house before, so I just like didn't have any responsibilities, I didn't have any bills. And then we moved here together. We made this huge decision, Jack and I, and then I was just devastated because I thought like, wow, 10 days in and I've already failed. I've already like just fucked this for us. Like he can't pay the rent on his own. So I was like, I'm the worst. And yeah, so the business came out of necessity because after that I was like, well, here we go. Now, because there were a lot of signs while I was still at that company that I could do it on my own if I had to. But I just like, I wasn't really entertaining that very much because I was like, well, you know, I have like such a good thing going here. It's like very steady. I don't have to worry about getting clients. Like it kind of just comes with the reputation of the firm that I was at. So after I got fired, some of the clients that I was working with, they heard the news and they knew that I was kind of in charge of all the plans and responsible for a lot of things happening behind the scenes. So they came with me. And I literally would not have my business without that they gave me the confidence of like, okay, people want to work with just me. And that was like life-changing.
Well, I have several things to say about that actually.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Number one, I didn't realize that you got fired. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Number two, what a strong testimonial that your clients that were basically clients of the other firm were like, oh, you're leaving, so we want to go with you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But third, I know that does give you confidence, right? To know that clients are coming with you, but you still could have been like, oh no, you know what? I'm going to go get another job because I'm too scared about the uncertainty. So like, while I agree, you do, that does give you some confidence. It's still a really brave decision that you made to start your own business.
Yeah.
And especially right after having taken on a new financial obligation.
Yes. So I'm entering this era of like all these new expenses with no concept of how I'm going to pay them. So that's always like the most terrifying part of starting a business, right? Like less than the rejection that may come with it. It's more so like, how am I going to pay for anything? Like, where is this money coming from?
But isn't it funny though, like how after you start a business and you really get going, and by the way, I'm not saying this in like a woo-woo or like spiritual way. I just mean like, it's interesting how when you start a business and you do what you're supposed to, you're putting one foot in front of the other, you're showing up and doing the best job that you can. It's interesting how the money does come as a consequence of that.
Right.
You know what? Consequence isn't the right word. More like as a result of that, of your hard work.
Yeah.
So now having started your business though, and I feel like it's important for people to hear this as well, I bet you don't regret it at all.
No, not at all. It's like it was always meant to be. Because like I said before, I was getting signs that I could do it on my own. And there were a lot of people actually like reaching out to me asking that. But because I was tied and employed by this firm, I wasn't like, wasn't able, I didn't have the time to do a project like completely on my own, but B, like wasn't really allowed to either because all the resources that I would be using would be through the firm. So I was kind of stuck. Like there was no way for me to do a project on my own, even though I felt confident enough to do it while I was still at that old firm. There just was not really, that wasn't a reality yet.
And so now, like having started your own business, I'm sure you had ideas of what that was going to be like. But then once you really get into it, it's like totally different.
Yes.
What did you expect it was going to be like, and how is it different?
I don't think I got the chance to think about what it's going to be like. Like I was so forced into it almost. Like, I mean, like you were saying, it is still a choice. Like I could have gone out and gotten another job, but it was like all the cards just kind of fell, and it just seemed like the most reasonable choice. Because I'll say this, as an interior designer, there is like kind of a cap, right? Of like where you can be promoted to within a firm. So it's like being the owner and the principal designer is that cap. So if you're not owning your own firm, then it's like you will always be working under someone. There's no equivalent of like partners at a law firm, or like at least in my situation. So I always knew that was the ultimate goal. I just didn't expect to have to do it so quickly. But I always say, working under someone in a creative capacity, you will always hit a ceiling. I feel like there's like when you're carrying out someone else's vision, you're never fully satisfied. There will always be disagreements. There will always be like little things where it's like, I could design a whole room, or like, let's say we're doing like an install day and I like design a whole coffee table, lay everything out, and she would come by and like move it all. And it's like, okay. So there's like, it's like at the end of the day, when you're working under someone, you're never fully in control, and you never feel fully fulfilled.
You know what? That is such a good point. And I feel like it's the same in business too. Like you have a bunch of ideas, and unless you are a partner there or being treated like one, your ideas are basically meaningless unless you can convince the boss that it's a good one.
Right.
And sometimes too, it's interesting, like you run into people that have a lot of ego, and even if it's a great idea and you have the proof, like here's my amazing idea and here are the problems it solves, and here is how it's going to be impactful and beneficial to us in the short term and the long term.
Right.
They're like, well, it wasn't mine, so no.
Yep.
If I had thought of it, it would have been okay.
Yeah.
But since I didn't, I don't know if I like it very much.
No. And then they'll like repeat it back to you differently. And they're like, but this is a good idea.
Oh yeah. And then you have to put on like an Oscar award-winning performance, like pretending like it's the first time you heard it.
Would have never
so
thought
smart.
of that.
You're so smart.
Yep. Happened all the time.
So there is something that's empowering about being your own boss, but then there is a lot of fear around it, because you kind of, I'm sure you've already had this moment several times. Like there are days when you're like, oh, so it's all up to me. Every single thing.
Yes.
Like and at a certain point, like when you hire a team and things like that, certain things are off your plate, but still any new challenge that comes, it's all up to you to figure it out.
Yeah.
One really cool thing that you're doing, Janelle, is your TikTok. I think it is so cool because it's fun, it's creative, it's aesthetically pleasing, but every time that I'm on there, I feel like I learn a lot.
Thank you.
What is an example of something that you've shared on TikTok that you think that's like, interior design 101, but that most people don't know?
I feel like in any industry, there are those things where just if you've been in the industry long enough, they are second nature and you don't even think about them, and you start to lose touch with like what the average person's breadth of knowledge is on your industry, which is probably low. And I entered this industry with zero knowledge, like bare minimum, because I didn't go to school for it. So I was learning everything on the job and on the spot. So now that things have become second nature, I made one video about like apartment upgrades, because I know that's like a very sought after topic of like with most of us, especially here in LA, like renting, you're looking for renter friendly upgrades that you can do in your space, like realistically and on a budget. So I made one video about easy apartment upgrades, and I just forget that people don't know how easy and accessible things are to swap out. Like, I could do it. Switches on the wall. Like, if you want to upgrade those, you can do it yourself. Even plumbing fixtures, like a little more difficult, but totally doable. Like switching out your shower head to make it like better, cuter, different finish. Like, that is so easy. And I remember everyone was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And it's like, duh. Like, that's the first thing I did when I walked through this apartment, and like some of the switches were like an ugly yellow color. I just like swapped them for a brand new white one. I was like, and also my favorite one is that you can put literally anything on a dimmer. That's like my life hack.
That's a game changer.
I know. Yeah, as long as the light bulbs are dimmable, you can make the switch a dimmer, and now you have a dimmable light fixture. And that's like how cool is that? Like, you wouldn't think you would think that you have to like get a dimmable fixture or something, you know, like, but that's like my first thought. Like, when I see something, I'm like in a dining room, especially, I'm like, get a dimmer in there.
You know, Janelle, like, you showed me pictures of this place before you came in here and worked your magic, and it was a great space. But like now, wow, like
thank you.
You have such. First of all, you have amazing taste.
Thank
and
you.
your vision, like everything that you talk about and then you do, it comes to life so beautifully. What is your design style of choice?
If I had to put a name to it, that's a good question. I feel like I even struggle with that sometimes, labeling it, because I'm inspired by so many different ones. And I'm also I always am focused on if the design is matching the space and like the bones and the home and even like contextually outside of that, like the neighborhood and everything. Like, you know, it has to feel cohesive. You can't like bring modern pieces into an old Spanish home. You know what I mean? So that always comes first, of like analyzing those type of things and deciding what style I'm going to be inspired by in that space. So I think it would be difficult to give myself like a label of what my style is, because I have clients ranging from so many different types of houses, like from beach cottage to like mid-century modern to like Spanish style. So I think I have to dip into a bunch of different styles to make the project what it should be. And luckily I like all of those styles, so it's not difficult for me. But when it comes to my own space, I was obviously inspired by like this 1920s Art Deco vibe apartment. And then I kind of put my own touches that I felt like matched what the home was asking for. This space specifically is literally just things I like. I wasn't like, I think I was just subconsciously taking notes from the space and what it was asking for and just picking things that I liked. Like, especially in my own space, I'm not really giving myself boundaries. I'm just choosing things that I like.
But you know what's actually really interesting about this, Janelle, that you just said a second ago? Like before, and I never really considered this. And I mean, I feel like it's so on the nose and obvious, but I guess since I'm not an interior designer,
it's one of those things.
Yeah, I just don't. So it's like you have to take the actual space into account before you start picking. You can't pick your sofa before you pick the space.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it's true. Yeah. Like you're not like if you put modern furniture in a Spanish hacienda, like it's probably not going to look the best.
I know.
So I guess what you're saying is like you love and appreciate all styles as long as they're done correctly.
Yes, absolutely.
And how do you balance your client's vision with your creative instincts? Like, are there ever times that they don't match?
Yes, all the time. I mean, not all the time, but there are things that I have absolutely been married to, so excited about. I literally just did a video on this. Things that I was so excited about doing, put so much effort into the design and picking the specific tiles that I was going to do it with and how I was going to lay everything out and whatever. And I think when clients have been living in their space, they have a certain like expectation for what the space will be. And so to have someone come in clean slate and design it like totally not what they're used to, I think sometimes that could be a little too jarring. And they're like, oh, okay, maybe we have to like scale it back or like move things here and like, just kind of like what they're comfortable with, or like what they're used to. But I do have some clients that are like super daring and they're like just down for whatever. And those are obviously like, that's everyone's dream client in any field, is just like someone who lets you have creative freedom. Like even when I'm going to the hairdresser or whatever, and she's always like, you're my dream girl, because I'm like, whatever you want, girl.
You're the pro.
Yeah, you're the pro. I'm not going to tell you how to cut layers. Like whatever you think looks good, that's all you.
One time I was getting a haircut and my hair is really annoying to cut.
Yeah.
And halfway through the haircut, the woman says to me, she kind of just like steps back and she says, what do I do? And I was like,
you're asking.
I don't know. We're deep in the process. You got to do something.
Yeah.
It was the worst haircut I ever got. Mm-hmm. I cried. Oh, and by the way, I had a bunch of interviews in New York City the next day.
Perfect.
And so I was like, great, I'm going to meet people with this like super horrible haircut. Perfect.
Excellent.
I never went back.
Yeah.
But okay, the reason I bring this up is that when you hire somebody to do a job, mm-hmm. especially I feel like an interior designer, it's like, yes, you want to work with the interior designer and say, here's my vision, bring mm-hmm. this vision to life. Mm-hmm. But I think that I feel like in order for it to be the most successful partnership it shouldn't be like, okay, Janelle, here's my vision. Mm-hmm. This is what I want you to bring to life. Here are the pieces I want you to buy and put in here.
Yes.
It's like, well then what am I here for?
Yes.
No,
it's like, I've had that experience so many times.
Right? Like if they say, Janelle, like when I walk into my home, I want to feel calm and I want to feel like the beach is right outside my door. Mm-hmm. I feel like something like that you can work with, right? You're like, okay.
Totally. Yeah. And yeah, once they start giving me specifics, like too many specifics, then it becomes more of like I'm more of like a problem solver. Like I'm putting puzzle pieces in where they're missing, which is fine. And like, that's also like a fun challenge that I do frequently. But the dream is to just be able to do it, And obviously within the constraints of their aesthetic that they're going for, the budget, the space itself. But yeah, that is like every creative's dream.
And what is one interior design tip you think everybody should know?
That's a good question. Like trying to think of something that's applicable to all spaces, because I feel like a lot of times on my TikTok, I'll like give specific advice like that. And then they'll be like, well, but I live in a New York apartment and it's 400 square feet. And I'm like, okay, well, fuck. Like, I can't even help you.
Yeah.
No, like, you know what I mean? So I always say like, it's contextual, people. Like you got to make a judgment call in your space. Like if I'm not there, if you didn't hire me to like solve these problems for you, then you gotta, take some context clues.
Yes, nobody come for Janelle. This will not apply to everybody in every single scenario.
It just can't. Yeah. Nothing can.
Right. No, that's a good point though. It's all contextual. Back to design choices. It all depends on your space.
Yes. I'll say lighting is a big one. And again, renter friendly. You can always swap out light fixtures. That's another hack. That's like, people don't know that if you have a hideous ceiling fan in the room, like for example, here, we had a ceiling fan over the dining room table.
Makes sense.
And I'm like, who wants to eat in a wind tunnel? Like that makes no sense. And it was like squeaking and everything. And I was like, oh God. So I just replaced it with like a proper dining room table chandelier. And it was so easy. My boyfriend and I did it in 5 seconds. But like things like that, where it's like, people don't know that you can just do that. They think you're stuck with like the landlord special. Lighting is a big one. In terms of like interior design tips, lighting is a big one. I would definitely consider what lights you're going to be using frequently, the temperature of them, where they're placed, like how you want to be living in the space. Like, especially if you have a lot of recessed cans, I would strategize how you can not have those on all the time. Lots of floor lamps, lots of like other things going on. And then another one would be rugs. I feel like people always buy the wrong size rug. And I know they're expensive. Rugs are certainly expensive. So like not judging. But I would rather not have a rug than have one that's like too small. You know what I mean?
Or
like,
too big.
Yeah, that too. Like when the coffee table is just like on the rug and it's like floating in the middle of the room and it's not touching any of the other furniture because the rug is too small. I'm like, don't do a rug at that point. You know, like you've seen that. It's like,
yes.
I feel like that is something that I always pick up on is the scale of furniture and things in the space. It's like, if it's too big or it's too small, like it's really jarring to the eye.
Scale is a huge part.
Yeah.
And see, and I'll be honest, that is one of those things, one of the many things that I'm not good at.
Yeah.
I can see a piece of furniture and I'm like, it's either going to be the size of the whole wall or it's going to be like a tiny in the corner. I don't know. Yes. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yes. No, and I was absolutely like, before working in this industry, totally the same way. Like no way that I would have thought about things like this, but now that it's second nature, things like that, where it's like, I would never buy an upholstered piece without seeing a sample of the fabric first. Never would do that. I would never purchase something without knowing the dimensions and where it's going to go. So, but see, those are all things that people do like all the time. You don't even think of. And then you get it and you're like, oh my God, this is not what I expected. But because I can't really take that risk with clients, especially with like lead times and things, if you are buying something that's custom or like semi-custom, it's taking like 4 to 8 weeks to get here. And so by then it's like, it better work. If we waited all that time for it to come and not be what we wanted, like, you know, that's why there's all those things in place where you can get samples. Like, and now I say that coming from like a place of privilege that I know how to work this software. So I can always put things in literally in the space. You know what I mean? Like to scale on the drawings. So I know like the couch is going to look exactly like this and have 12 inches from the wall, which is so helpful, like even more helpful than just having a tape measure and laying it out in the space. You know what I mean?
And see, like anytime I talk to anybody who knows anything about interior design, one thing that like comes to my mind immediately is, oh my God, people don't just go into a space, wing it, and it look amazing. Like there's a lot of thought and a lot of technical things that go into making a space look amazing.
Yes. And like I said before, I think that's the goal, the no makeup look, but it's certainly not the case. Like, yes, I think you can effortlessly have good style and like things just naturally, like you're just drawn to things that work together and you know how to subconsciously kind of like curate things. But there's absolutely a lot of effort and thought put into everything, at least for me.
And one thing that I think people have a misconception about too is that you need to be like building a huge fancy house in order to hire an interior designer. But that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I know that you work with people through TikTok who have probably oftentimes smaller apartments or small spaces.
Yeah.
And you help them like put it together in a cool, cohesive, aesthetically pleasing way.
Yeah.
Can you talk about like how you're working with people and doing this, I guess, virtually?
Yeah, I do have some virtual clients, which is totally new to me because obviously at my firm before that was not a thing. Because my TikTok has brought people from the whole country to me, I was like, well, I have to figure out a way to make things virtual. And like, so I've always, even at my old firm, we offered like a range of services. So it was like anywhere from helping you just buy the furniture and stage it and, you know, like make everything look beautiful at the end stages to like full project management from the beginning. We're talking to the contractor, we're submitting the plans. Like, so that's what I do now. I have projects on both ends of the scale. So yeah, I and that was a struggle, was finding how to apply like this model of what I was used to, which is like full project management where I'm talking to the contractor, I'm sourcing things, I'm purchasing things, like I'm in charge of everything, and how to fit that model to like we're doing this virtually. The client is buying things. I'm not there to like bring them samples and things. So that's been like a learning curve. But it's been working out fine. Like I think a client that is reaching out knowing that they're going to be virtual, I think they are usually pretty like capable, you know? They know that they're going to have to be doing the work.
But you know what? It's a great way to work with an interior designer at a reasonable price point, because chances are too, like if you're living in an apartment, a small apartment and you're single, whatever, you know, like maybe you can afford an interior designer to come in and transform your space for you. But it's nice that you offer this service to people who can work with you, pick your brain, and then you can make recommendations that they never would have even thought of.
Yeah. I do that. It's mostly in the form of presentations for virtual clients. It's like I really am compiling anything they ask for, whether that's like a mood board to start and we like kind of get the vision together and then I suggest specifics from there.
Well, I think you do an amazing job, and you've even given me some tips too that like I know I need to use. Like for example, when you walked in my living room and you saw that I had my sofa like all the way up in the corner and you were like, Alexander, no, that's not where it goes.
That's a personal one for me. I don't know if that's universal or not. And I've said that on TikTok and gotten mixed reviews, but for me, it's like I've been able to make that rule work every time. So I stand by it.
Janelle, you know, though, like I've been finding that to be true. Like if you look at Architectural Digest and you look at all these beautiful living rooms,
you'll never see a couch touching the wall.
Unless it's like in a little nook
where
it's meant to be there.
Right. It's like a built-in or something.
Yes. Yeah. If it's not a built-in, open up Architectural Digest, find a sofa in a huge living room crammed against the wall. We'll wait. Like literally it's not there. No one does that.
I know. And that's like one of those things where you don't think about that if you don't do that for a living. If you're not looking at Architectural Digest every single day like I am, you wouldn't. Why would you think to not? You're like, I want to maximize my space.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. And my response to that is always like, for what? What? Like, why do you want
are you gonna do P90X?
A gymnasium? Yeah. Why do you want empty space for activities? Like it's not doing what you think it's doing. Like more empty space doesn't make the space feel bigger. And I've had to learn that the hard way.
That's a good point, because you would think like, yeah, exactly. I want to clear out all this space. I never thought about that. Why?
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to clear out all this space? So that there's an enormous chasm between your sofa and your television, which by the way, like we have a big TV, so it's not an issue. But like if it were any smaller, we would need like binoculars to watch it, because that's how far away it is.
Yes.
And okay, and I'm also making it sound as though it's like this enormous room. It's not huge like that, but it's
big.
It's big, but it's not huge. It's big enough to where like the sofa being pushed all the way up against the wall does not make sense.
I'm so glad you took that note.
I know. Now I need to do it though. That's the thing. I need to move it. I need to see. And that's the thing too. It's like move the sofa away from the wall. I'm like, okay, cool. Where? Because like I'm not good at that. That's why like
it's like this.
It looks amazing. And it feels good.
Yeah.
I don't know what my problem was. Anyway, one thing that I want to talk to you about, and I think it's super important for anybody who's starting a business, is about our boyfriends. Well, fiance. I know yours is going to be your fiance soon.
That was yours.
I know. We both have incredible boyfriends. Jack has actually done the show, and I'm gonna invite him again to do it on camera. I love you both, and I think you guys have such a great relationship. And I think it's important, especially like when you're trying to be creative, you're trying to start your own thing. Because if you're not in a healthy relationship, I feel like it would be like almost impossible to not, maybe not impossible. I know, I'm sure people do it, but like very difficult to be successful at anything when your relationship life is a mess.
Yes, I agree. Because I'm sure we've all been like in all of those stages of like super toxic, terrible relationship, it's ruining my life, to like single, like what are we doing? To this, like the most incredible relationship I've ever been in. And I'm not one to say that you need a man at all.
Neither am I.
We are not
by the way.
saying that.
No, we're not those kind of girls, Janelle.
No, absolutely not. You do not need a man. So no way do I want to insinuate that like you need a man to start a business or like be successful, or you need someone like, you know, supporting you. I mean, you need like your friends supporting you and your family and whatever. You need someone supporting you, but it doesn't need to be a man. With that said, specifically in my situation, the day that I got fired and was in the fetal position in our empty bedroom, we didn't even have a bed yet. It was literally a rug in our soon-to-be bedroom 10 days in. I was in the fetal position crying, thinking about how I just like ruined everything for us. And I mean, he just handled it better than I could have ever asked for, you know? Mm-hmm. And so to your point, I think that along with the clients giving me the confidence, like to have someone be like, no, you can do this. And like, we're going to be okay because we're in this together. Mm-hmm. That was like, oh my gosh. Because I think if he wasn't supportive and he came in, like I was devastated and so worried, and he came in so calm and was like, no, everything has always worked out for us and it will continue to work out for us. Whereas if he had come in and been like, oh, we're fucked, you know, then I would be like, oh my God, okay, I'm going to go get a job at the local restaurant, you know, because I'm scared too. But I think he's like really the reason that I was like, no, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do what I have always wanted to do, but just thought it was like way further down the line. I'm like, why not now?
Well, and you know, it's interesting because like, of course, it feels nice when your family and your friends are like, we believe in you. Go get him, Tiger, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's different when it's your partner who's like, hey, like, I believe in you. Mm-hmm. We're in this together. Go do your thing.
Yeah.
That inspires like a different level of confidence because it's somebody who is quite literally in the same boat as you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, they are the closest person to you. Like, they know you in ways that like, not even your parents or your best friend does. Like they're like your life partner. You're the closest to them in every single aspect of life, I feel like.
Well, it's true. Like even like think about it, like when your best friends are going through something, like of course you can be there for them. You can give them the good advice, you know, whatever you need, I'm here. But then you hang up and you're like, oh, well, all right, on with my life. You know, unless they're going to move in with you for a little bit for some reason. But like, other than that, like friends, even though you're close and you love each other, it is different. Mm-hmm. Totally different.
Yeah, totally. And I remember feeling that way when I was going through like I won't say terrible breakup because it wasn't terrible. It was great. But like we were ending something terrible. So, but I remember like, yeah, like you said, it's just a phone call and then everyone just like goes on with their life. It's not someone who's like there. You're going to the grocery store together. You're coming back home. You're putting the groceries, like, you know, like something about that of like that type of partnership just in the day-to-day things where it's like, I didn't really know that I needed support at the grocery store, but it's like having it, incredible.
Amazing. Yeah. Don't want to go back.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do it alone anymore.
No, it's true. And you know, like so I feel like relationships too are the type of thing where like kind of like with the job out of college, sometimes you need to learn about what you don't want before you can really figure out what you do. And it's funny because I mean, look, I'm not speaking for everyone here, but I will speak for myself.
Yeah.
I put up with all kinds of nonsense that I wouldn't even dream of putting up with today.
Yep.
And it's funny because it's like, I feel like when you're in a toxic relationship, and what I mean by toxic, I feel like a lot of people have like a very specific idea of what that means. But the way that in this context, for me, a toxic relationship is a relationship that does not work for you, does not make you feel like your best self. Like you feel like there's something wrong and you fall into bad habits.
Yes.
When you know what I mean? Like anything that's less than ideal.
No, I totally get what you're saying. Like, it's not like they're abusing you, but it's like even just like they're not supportive. It's not the best for you. Like, and like you were saying, you don't know that until you experience that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I didn't even know that it could be this good. I just thought that relationships were, like you're never going to be exactly the same as someone else. So it's like tensions and disagreements will always happen. But now that I'm seeing that in such a different light and such a different way that we work through things and everything, it's like, oh, okay, wow, I put up with a lot of BS.
Love should not hurt. Yeah. Like love should be easy.
Yes. And this is my first time experiencing that.
And it's almost like you're almost kind of like, wait, when is the other like shoe gonna drop? Like what's the catch here?
Yes.
When I first started dating Kyle, I remember thinking, damn, he's really nice. And then I was like, too nice? Question mark. I was like, does he like collect his toenails or like what's going on here? God. Yeah, like there's something he's not telling me.
Yeah.
And then like a month and a half in, I was like, oh no, he's just actually that nice. It turns out that people can do that.
Everyone that meets Kyle feels that way.
Kyle's the best. And Jack too.
Wait, he's like too nice. Like something must be wrong with him. But no, it's just Kyle. Yeah, no, I felt the same way. Well, so I actually, because I met Jack in high school, so I already knew him. So when we were starting this like second round of dating and being together, there was none of that like the scary like unknown, because I feel like I already knew him even though we hadn't talked for like 5 years. But yeah, there was still like this element of like, will I ever fully know this person? Because coming from a 5-year relationship to a brand new one, you're like, am I ever gonna like know someone as deeply as I knew this person for like 5 years? And now it's like that person's a stranger, and this person I've like never known anyone or loved anyone more.
Yes. And so the opposite is true too. Like sometimes it takes you a while of being with someone to realize like you don't like them.
Yes.
Which is super weird.
Yeah.
But it's like sometimes you get stuck in this rut of like feeling unworthy of love. Mm-hmm. And then because this person who is like a mean loser is confirming that for you, like, right. Are like confirming your worst fear, like, oh no, like you're not worthy of love. You stay stuck in this cycle of trying to win them over, mm-hmm. when really you should get away from them. Because
mm-hmm. If it's not, work.
Why, like, what is it? Like, I remember one time my aunt said to me, Alexander, why is it that you want to date somebody who doesn't want to date you? Mm-hmm. And I was kind of taken aback. I was like, oh my God, that's so true.
Yeah, I know. That's like the most basic, like, why do we not all just accept this to be true? Like, why would you even want to have a conversation with someone who like doesn't want to have a conversation with you? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that comes with age too. Like Jack and I always talk about how in high school, like just as social situations evolve throughout life as we get older, like you go from high school where like, well, I have to be friends with people and like everyone has to like me because I need someone to sit with at lunch, and I'm seeing these people every day, all day. And then you go to college where it's like a degree of separation from that, where it's like I'm not in the same class with every single person all day. I don't need someone to eat lunch with. Like I can very much pick and choose my friends and who I want to interact with to a degree. And then in adult life, you're like, I can really choose. I can talk to no one. Like I don't have to talk to anyone. I could just completely do my own thing and just talk to one person, So I think that also comes with freedom, like, as you get older, where you start being in situations where you're like, wow, I'm really like entirely in control of who I interact with.
This is a great point, because it's not just exclusive to romantic relationships. Mm-hmm. If you have a friendship that's no longer working anymore, right. It's not give and take, or you guys don't bring out the best in each other, mm-hmm. or they're being petty, or what, anything, whatever. If it doesn't work for you, you should totally move on. I mean, look, again, this is for me. I would prefer to have very few great friends mm-hmm. than a bunch of forced ones. Yeah. That don't work.
Yes, I think everyone should feel that way.
And like, and also too, like being in a bad relationship and sticking around of any kind. This one again is specific to my last romantic relationship. Mm-hmm. I remember one time a good friend of mine said to me, Alexander, every single time you come back from an interaction with your boyfriend, you're miserable. Like you literally, you look horrible, you sound horrible, you're in a bad mental place. Like you don't feel good. And I was like, no, but it's not because of him. It's just, I don't know, you're making all the excuses you could think of.
Yeah.
And she said this to me. She goes, Alexander, if you got food poisoning at a seafood restaurant every single time that you went there, every time you left, you had horrible food poisoning.
Yeah.
Would you continue to go back just because you like the chef?
That's so funny.
I was like, damn, that's true.
That is true.
It's one of the ones that woke me up. So moral of the story is you have to be with somebody who's supportive and then who makes you feel good, especially when you're branching out and taking a big risk like starting your own business.
Exactly, because you're going to inevitably be in a very vulnerable position in a lot of aspects of your life, financially, emotionally. Like when you're starting a business, there's just so much uncertainty. It's like, and Jack has even talked about this too, when he was living out those set days of like being in the worst days of his career, where it's like you're working 14-hour days, you're scraping up like dog shit in downtown LA. And he was like, and to be able to come back to me was like, he's like, at least I have one thing figured out. It's like you have all these like pillars of life, and it's like, I got this one locked down. So this one that's like in complete chaos and not at all what I want to be doing is a little more bearable. But I think that can be said about anything. Like, if you have like your friendships really locked down or like your living situation really locked down, it's like there's just having like things that you can fall back on makes the business career stuff easier to handle.
Absolutely. That's actually really well said.
Yeah.
It's like the relationships in your life are like the boat, so to speak, that you use to sail through life.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a good boat, like
yes.
good luck withstanding some waves when they come.
That's so true. Yeah.
And you know what I have also noticed too? It's interesting how like, okay, if I feel like a little nervous or preoccupied, feeling sensitive about something, Kyle like steps up to the plate and is like an anchor.
Yes.
And he's like, you know what I mean? And then sometimes they become a little vulnerable. And then even if you're feeling a certain type of way, you become the anchor because you're like, they need me right now.
Yes. That is so true. And I've seen that play out in my own relationship so many times. Like what I was just saying, when I was in the fetal position, he was like, no, we're going to figure it out. It's like that. Like that's all I needed. I feel like that's true for a lot of aspects of a relationship. When you give someone the space to step up to the plate, like if they are really a good partner, then they will step up to the plate. I had a friend who was struggling with like being the really like dominant masculine one in the relationship, but just because she felt like she needed to be to like get things done, which I feel like a lot of women that are really strong and independent and can do their own shit, I feel like when they get into relationships with men who are a little more like chill or like not as forceful and like they're not really like planners, then you can easily start to like steamroll them. And so she was saying how she was doing that in their relationship, and then she took a step back and was like, I want him to, start making more decisions, doing things on his own, like, being equal partners in the relationship. And she was like, so I just stopped doing some of those things and gave him the space, and he just like stepped up and started doing it. And she was like, wow, that's all it took. Like not me nagging him to do it, not me like, complaining about doing XYZ or that I take all the load on, you know what I mean? But I feel like if you give your partner the space, then they will. Like if that you believe in them, that they can fill that role and that they can do that, then they will.
100%. Yeah. I feel like that's the case with like, even like when you believe in somebody to do anything, really, you create the space for them to rise to that occasion.
Exactly.
Whereas like if you don't believe in them and you're trying to like stop them from doing what they're doing, not to say that like you can stop anyone from doing anything, because at the end of the day, everybody does whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you doubt somebody, it doesn't create a space that's conducive to like freedom of expression and
Totally.
creativity.
Totally. And even if you're not saying that explicitly, like that you're doubting them, it's like everyone can feel.
Everyone can feel
Everyone
a bad
can
vibe.
feel when someone is doubting them or like doesn't have faith in them or, doesn't believe that they're capable. It's like we all can feel that.
You know, it's so weird, Janelle. Like, I actually have noticed that, not lately, but especially when I first started my business and I started experiencing like some success and like I was, living the life that I'd always wanted, really. I noticed that a lot of people that I thought were very close to me didn't like it. Like they didn't like me out of my box that they had me in.
That's an interesting point.
It's almost like I feel like sometimes people, when they see you doing what you want to do, it's almost like maybe it's not even conscious, but they subconsciously compare what they're doing to what they perceive as your life. And because you're doing your own thing, they feel smaller next to you. And so because of that, they're going to take it out on you in certain ways. When really, they have no idea what you're going through.
Yes.
They have no idea.
Yeah. Like it looks like everything is going my way, but I'm, struggling with certain aspects of the business or
Right.
the creative part or something like that.
Yeah, the million things that you need to deal with on a daily basis owning your own business.
Yes.
And Janelle, where do you see your business in 5 years? Like, what are your plans? What are your goals?
Oh my gosh. Every creative person's dream is to just like be given the freedom to do whatever they want to do. So I would say 5 years from now, I would hope to be almost exclusively working on projects that I'm fully managing, just so it's like that my vision really gets delivered every single time and it's not interrupted by things. I don't even know what I would call just like expectations or boundaries or things where people are hesitant to let you do the whole vision. Like I want to be able to build a company and a reputation where it's like people just are like, do your thing.
And what's the biggest lesson you've learned starting your business so far?
I think being perceived is crazy. Like we all forget that like we are being perceived by people all day, every single day. So when you're presenting yourself, like not just you as a person, but now I'm presenting like this whole brand, which is like me, my personality, my style, like the way I look, the way I design things, like the styles that I'm drawn towards. It's like one big package of like, this is my brand. And it's like, people are perceiving that. I hope I'm like wording that in a way that's digestible, but like that was one of the biggest things where I was like, wow, like it is a whole package and I'm selling it essentially. Like that I have to sell every aspect of that, because if my designs are really great, but like I suck as a person, then it's like, who wants to work with me? And luckily I've been a personality hire my entire life. So that's like not really a problem. It was more like, okay, I need to get these designs to deliver, because I don't know if I mentioned this, but everything that I had worked on before at the old firm, it was all under a confidentiality agreement. So I wasn't able to use any of that in my portfolio. So essentially when I started my own business, it was like, I'm starting from scratch. Like it looks to the outsider like I haven't done anything because I can't show photos. I can't show my designs. Like all that is under an NDA. And so there was like, I had to build a portfolio from scratch of like things that I could actually use and show on my website and stuff, that was probably the biggest struggle.
And I feel like in our day and age, like perception is so important and people want to feel like they're connecting with you. So it is an interesting dynamic. I feel like it's always existed to a certain degree, but not the way it is now. Yeah. So it is something to think about. And especially like I know a lot of your business comes from TikTok, which is, so no one's going to reach out to like a page that's just, photos of interior. Like they want to know who they're working with.
That's so true. Yeah. And my TikTok has gone through many phases, because when I started doing TikToks in 2020, it was like just my personal life, like just funny things and videos. And then when I started dating Jack, like we had a couple video that like went viral. And now that the vision is more clear, it's like easier to make videos. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it is funny because sometimes like when you start a project, you're not really sure what direction it's going to go in exactly. And then as you continue to do it, it starts to just reveal itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, that happens in every aspect of what I do. TikTok and design and everything.
And Janelle, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to start their own interior design firm?
I would say it's one of those industries where people are hiring you for you and your unique style. So you just need to bring something to the table that's like, this is why you would want to work with me specifically, you know, because it's not just like a skill. I mean, there are aspects of it that are absolutely a skill, like software or being able to source things and layer things. And, you know, that is a skill. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's so unique to the designer that it couldn't just be anyone. Like people are hiring you for you. So you just need to make that clear of like what makes you different and why should people choose you.
And Janelle, what's the best way for people who are interested in working with you to find you?
I would say for sure TikTok. That's where I put like most of my content. So that's a good way to get to know me and my projects and everything. But if you're interested in working with me, then my design website, which is deakostudios.com, and my email is janelle@deakostudios.com. So that's where I filter in like the work and project stuff separated from my TikTok where I get emails for like brand deals and stuff, you know? So the Deako Studios is specifically for people who want to work with me.
I'll include the handle to your TikTok along with your website and email in the episode notes. So that way anybody who wants to contact you can do so just by clicking the links below.
Perfect.
And Janelle, if you could go back in time right now and speak to yourself right before you started this business and give yourself advice specifically tailored to your journey so far, what would it be?
It would be that my ideas like are good. Like that is the biggest problem I feel like you run into confidence wise and like imposter syndrome wise is like people are paying you for your ideas. So like you have to believe that they are really good, you know? And so I struggled with that in the beginning because my confidence had taken like a lot of blows from the interior design firm that I was working at before, because I thought the idea of the coffee table display that I did was really great. And then someone came and changed it all. So it's like, once I started getting confirmation that like, okay, wow, people think that my designs and my ideas are really great, then it's like the rest just falls into place.
Well, Janelle, thank you so much for sitting down and doing this with me and for hosting us in your beautiful living room.
Gosh.
This is so fun. Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you.